The time is now 5:30. The date is now June 15th, 2021. We will call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Statesboro, Georgia. We will have our invocation and pledge of allegiance by Council Member Sherry Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you will, allow me to speak a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Spirit of light and love, by whatever name we call the source we turn to, we ask your presence here tonight. We begin by breathing and quieting ourselves to make it easier to hear the still, small voice within that can guide us. We come here appreciative of so many blessings. We're grateful for this place we live, for the caring people who show up and care about the business of the city. We're aware of many concerns and grateful for many blessings. May we be guided to the best possible decisions for all the people affected by the issues we deal with this evening. May we remember to respect and appreciate one another and our varying opinions and the good intentions of all present. May it be so. We pray now. Amen. Amen. Blessed be.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move down to agenda item 3, recognitions and public presentations. Agenda item A is a presentation of a proclamation for Amateur Radio Week. The proclamation reads as follows. A proclamation by the Mayor and City Council of Statesboro, Georgia, Amateur Radio Week. Whereas amateur radio operators are celebrating over a century of the miracle of the human voice broadcast over the airwaves. And whereas amateur radio has continued to provide a bridge between peoples, society, and countries by creating friendships and sharing their ideas, and whereas amateur radio operators have also provided countless hours of community service, both in emergencies and to other local organizations throughout these decades. And whereas these amateur radio services are provided wholly uncompensated, and whereas the city also recognizes the services of amateur radio's people also provide to our many emergency response organizations, including the County Emergency Management Association, the American Red Cross, and the Salvation Army. And whereas these same individuals have further demonstrated their value in public assistance by providing free radio communications to local parades, bike-a-thons, walk-a-thons, fairs, and other charitable public events. And whereas the City of Statesboro recognizes and appreciates the diligence of these hands, who also serve as weather spotters in the Skywarn program of the National Weather Service. And the AARL is the leading organization for amateur radio in the USA. And whereas the AARL Amateur Radio Field Day exercise will take place on June 26th through the 27th, 2021, and is a 24-hour emergency preparedness exercise and demonstration of radio amateurs' skills and readiness to provide self-supporting communications without further infrastructure being required. Now therefore, I, Jonathan M. McCollum, Mayor of the City of Statesboro, do hereby officially recognize and designate June 21st through the 27th as Amateur Radio Week in the City of Statesboro. Thank you. If you will, come forward and accept your, there you go.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, thank you. Y'all take care. Have a good one. Good to see you. Now we move down to agenda item 3B. It's not listed on the agenda, but this may be the worst kept secret in the city of Statesboro. Tonight we have a special presentation to Miss Lucy Kemp. Miss Lucy Kemp and the Deal family and this entire community suffered a very tragic loss in the death of Harrison. To say Harrison was special is an understatement, but to talk about the family and what the Deal family has meant to our community, I only thought that it was appropriate, and I think everybody in this room feels that it's appropriate to share the fact that we stand by the Deal family. We love the Deal family, and we're going to support the Deal family no matter what. Lucy, we know that Harrison was special to you. And like I shared with Kurt, you are going to be forever an honorary citizen of the city of Statesboro. We love you like we love Harrison. We love the Deal family. These are immaculate people. They have been for a very long time in this community. And no matter what, the thing about Statesboro, we stick together. And that goes for Bullock County as well. So tonight, we just wanted to take the opportunity, when we felt that we could at least make it through this conversation a little bit, to recognize how special Harrison was to this community, how special you are to this community, and how special the Deal family is to this community. Kurt, to the Deal family, we love you, we're with you, we support you no matter what. And that's the thing that we have to say. When we say Statesboro strong, we mean Statesboro strong, and that goes for all of Bullock County. We're here for each other, we love each other, and we love you. Lucy, you are our baby now. We love you, and you'll forever be a part of us. Thank you. You have somebody that's with you. And so I'm gonna hand it to her first, and we're gonna let her hand it to you, okay? All right. How you doing? I'm gonna hug you there. I'm back to the. Kurt, bam.
Mr. Mayor, can I use it?
Yeah, we're gonna go over here. Kurt, who needs to be up here? Who needs to be here? Okay. Lucy, you come get this, go with your mom, please. I'm gonna step out. Let them.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And that's one of the girls.
And then, Kurt, we want to get your commissioners with you, if that's okay. I saw Roy Thompson. I saw Jackie Stringer. Will the commissioners come forward? Tom Couch, Anthony Simmons. I didn't see y'all come in. No.
Okay.
Before you get the two commissioners to sort of stick their shoulders through so they can, so you turn shoulder to shoulder, so, yeah, so we can see.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Anyone else want to get one?
So many people up here, let's do it, try it this way.
Okay.
Nobody blink.
I'll just say something real quick. On behalf of our family and the Kemp family, we just appreciate this recognition to Harrison and Lucy. We've definitely had the support of the community and felt the power of prayer to get us to where we're at today. Appreciate everybody. We love y'all.
We're gonna use a point of personal privilege and allow for a 5-minute recess, so that everyone that came for this ceremony, it's okay for you to leave now. You don't have to stay through the great agenda. We know you guys itching to hear about agenda item 6, approving some zoning stuff, so. But with that being said, we're gonna break for 5 minutes and then we'll reconvene after then, okay?
I don't know what we're doing. They haven't.
Take the mayor and his wife.
Okay, ready, 1, 2, 3.
Hopefully they like it.
You want me to shine my flashlight?
I think John.
There we go. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, then.
I'm surprised he's not here.
How are you, baby? I think
He's contagious.
All right, we will now call the meeting back to order. We'll move down to agenda item 4, public comments. Leah, are there any public comments?
no, Mayor.
We'll move down to agenda item 5, consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda, approval of minutes from the June 1st council minutes and the June 1st executive session. It'll also be a consideration of a motion to approve surplus and disposition of the 4 2011 Dodge Chargers in the police department that are past their service life. Is there a motion to approve agenda 5A and 5B?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing that there is none, agenda item 5 is passed. We'll move down to agenda item 6, public hearing, consideration of a motion to approve application SE 21-04-03. Jamie Lynn Stowbridge requests a special exception to locate a trailer on a .3 acre property located in the R10 zoning district on a property located on Lewis Street. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will ask Kathy to give us insight on this matter.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Jamie Lynn Stowbridge requests a special exception to locate a trailer on a .3 acre size of property located on Lewis Street. Trailers are not permitted in the R10, which is a single-family residential zoning district, unless granted by a special exception by the city council. The subject site contains a dilapidated workshop on the rear of the property and is surrounded by single-family homes on all sides. Although a survey was submitted showing the site, no depiction of the development was provided to ensure consistency with the ordinance. So you can see the site on Lewis Street outlined in red. The site is located in the character area entitled Residential Redevelopment as per the future land use map. As mentioned, the zoning in this area is R10. And the photo on the top left shows the subject property. The photo on the bottom right shows the property to the south. The photo rather on the top left shows property on the southeast direction from the property, and then the bottom photo on the right shows property to the east. Staff recommends denial of SC 21-0403. It is staff's concern that by allowing a mobile home in this lot, that a precedent will be created in terms of allowing additional mobile homes in that area. As you saw depicted by the photos, the homes surrounding this site are all stick-built homes. They're not mobile homes. And so we feel that a precedent would be created in terms of allowing additional mobile homes in that area. If this petition is approved by the Mayor and City Council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of the special exception does not grant the right to develop on the property without adherence to the city code and approval by the Department of Planning and Development. And 2, the applicant must adhere to Article 25, Section 2501 of the Statesboro zoning ordinance, which outlines the general placement of mobile homes in residential zones in the city of Statesboro. It should be noted that at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on May 4th, 2021, the Commission voted to deny the special exception by a 3-0 vote. That is my presentation.
Okay. Thank you. All right, is there anyone here who wants to speak for this request? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against the request? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll open it up for council discussion. Any discussion by council?
Is Ms. Sturbridge present? Thank you.
Okay. No? Okay. All right, with that being said, is there a motion from council? Is it a motion to support staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. We'll move down to agenda item 7. Public hearing consideration of a motion to approve application SUB 21-05-01. Robbie Bell request preliminary plat approval for a 5-lot residential subdivision for development of 5 single-family detached homes to complete the North Bridge subdivision on 55.48 acres located on Highway 301 North. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Kathy, if you'll give us some insight.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Robbie Bell requests the subdivision of a portion of a 51.48 acre lot off of Highway 301 North. The disturbed area is approximately 2 acres and will be a cul-de-sac development off of Golden Gate Lane. The intent of the applicant is to end the road in a cul-de-sac and build 5 single-family homes. The size of the lots are within the range of 8,000 to 10,000 square feet, which is an allowable lot size in the R4 zoning district for detached single-family dwellings. The original subdivision was authorized under SUB 070807 with the original intent to develop the entire tract of land. Upon completion of this major subdivision, the only portion developed was the Phase 1, which would become North Bridge Drive, North and South Bridgeport Drive, and Golden Gate Lane. The applicant has not expressed the intent to develop the remaining portions of land at this time. So you can see the parcel, the 2 acres outlined in red, which is essentially at the end of Golden Gate Lane. The future land use map shows this as a character area of established residential neighborhood, so it's consistent with that. In terms of the zoning, it's showing as R4, and the lot sizes are consistent with single-family lots within the R4 zoning district. The subject property is shown in both of these photos. The one on the bottom right shows the end of the road, and then the one on the top left would show the continuation of what would be a cul-de-sac. Photos here show adjacent properties. And then this photo shows the extension of Golden Gate Lane to develop that cul-de-sac, and with the 5 lots surrounding the cul-de-sac. Staff recommends approval of the proposed preliminary plat. If this petition is approved by the mayor and city council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of this preliminary plat does not grant the right to begin construction on the site. All construction must be approved by the city. 2, all street lighting must meet city standards and be approved by the city. 3, utility easements, including but not limited to right-of-way, water, sewer, gas, etc., must be granted to the city as deemed necessary by the Department of Engineering. 4, the final plat must meet all requirements of Article 3 of the City of Statesboro zoning ordinances before being presented to the city for approval and before any houses may be sold in the expansion of the subdivision. At the regularly scheduled meeting with the Planning Commission on June 1st, 2021, the Commission recommended approval of the preliminary subdivision plat with a 5-0 vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Is there anyone here to speak for this request?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name's Wes Sherrod. I'm with Parker Engineering. Basically here in support of it, but just to entertain any questions you may have about this.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll do that during council discussion, so make yourself available if council needs you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone here to speak against this request? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll open it up for council discussion. Is there any discussion by council?
Sounds great. Thank you for building 5 more houses. We need them in Statesboro.
I concur, like, we really need these single-family homes, and they're detached, so that's a bonus for me, so.
All right. All right. Okay, so, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll move down to agenda item 8, public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application 521-05-02, BVT Enterprises LLC, request a variance from Article 30, Section 3005B, in order to place a mural exceeding 25% of the wall located on 22 West Vine Street. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Kathy, if you'll give us some insight, please.
Yes, sir. Darren Van Tassel is requesting placement of a vinyl mural on the western end of the building located at 22 West Vine Street. The mural would face onto South Walnut Street and would
Recording in progress.
Sorry.
consist of black and white colors to complement the side of the building. The mural is in excess of the general allowance for murals, which is 25% of the wall elevation on the given side. In general, the sign does meet the requirements as outlined in Article 30, Section 3005 of the Statesboro zoning ordinance, including such criteria as: 1, no part of any mural shall extend beyond the building wall or freestanding wall. 2, no part of the mural shall extend more than 6 inches from the plane of the wall on which this tile painted or fixed. 3, the mural must not advertise any activity deemed illegal. 4, the mural's theme should be historical in nature. 5, the mural's color and design shall comply with accepted design standards. And lastly, murals are restricted to commercial zones. So you can see the site. It's on the corner of West Vine and South Walnut Street, and the mural will be on the South Walnut Street side. The future land use map shows this site within the commercial redevelopment area. The zoning for this site is the CBD, the Central Business District. And on the top photo, on the top left, you can see the front of the building. The photo on the bottom right shows the affected wall of the subject property, which is on the South Walnut Street side. The photo on the top left shows property to the north, and photo on the bottom right shows property to the west. And this shows essentially the mural plan on that South Walnut Street wall.
Wow.
That's nice.
That is.
Accordingly, staff recommends approval of V 21-0502. If the petition is approved by the Marion City Council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. 1, all freestanding or traditional wall signage on the building must meet the requirements of Article 15, Section 1509, Table 6. 2, if there are any changes to the design of the signage, it must first be reviewed and approved by staff to ensure conformance with the downtown design standards. And 3, if there is significant degradation of the mural, the city can require removal or replacement. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on June 1st, 2021, the Commission recommended approval with staff recommendations with a vote of 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, is there anyone here to speak for this request? Is there anyone here to speak against the request? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll move down to move down for council discussion. Any discussion by council?
Thank you, staff, for putting in the condition about degradation. I've talked with different people, and that's the only objection that I heard. The mural is a possibility with it being vinyl, that it may not hold up, may not age nicely. So with that condition in, I don't have any concerns.
Council?
I think it's very nice. It's rich and it's rich. And I think it, mimics what we stand for here in Statesboro. I love it. I absolutely love it. So that's going to be on the Vandy's. That's going to be on Vandy's, right? Okay, cool beans. That's what's up.
All right, is there a motion to approve with staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we'll move down to agenda item 9, public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application 521-0503. Jake Drayton requests a variance from Article 11, Section 1102G in order to allow the use of the pre-existing building located at 408 South Main Street. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Go ahead.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay.
Thank you. Jack Dragan requests a variance to allow for the continued use of the former Wings University building at 408 South Main Street. The subject property is a .49 acre lot containing a parking area and 2 commercial buildings. As per Section 11, Section 1102 of the Statesboro zoning ordinance, a lot area of not less than 20,000 square feet shall be provided per structure to be located on the proposed site. The placement of the second structure was permitted under the initial plan to redevelop on the site after the closure of Wings University. And essentially the timing was that the second structure there, which is a snow cone operation, was put in, and staff had originally understood that the Wings University building was to come down, which is why we allowed that snow cone there. Staff has received no plans to redevelop the full site, nor has there been any intent expressed to renovate the current existing abandoned building. The existing parking area on the parcel is a shared parking lot with the northern parcel, which the applicant also owns, which contains both Terry's Salon and Jake's Creative Communications, neither of which meet the existing parking requirements. So here is the site here. And the red building just to the north of the site is the other building that the applicant also owns. And he shares the parking with the site in question. The future land use map shows this to be commercial redevelopment area. The zoning map shows this zone as highway-oriented commercial. And the top photo on the left shows the Wings University, which is currently vacant at the moment. The bottom photo shows the property to the west. Top left shows the property to the east. The bottom photo on the right shows the red roof building that the applicant also owns, which is contiguous to the site. And then this shows the current existing building, which is the snow cone operation on the site. Staff recommends denial of V21-0503 due to the current state of the existing building, the lack of availability of parking at the location with the additional proposed use, and the lack of compatibility with the Blue Mile and DSDA design standards. If this petition is approved by the Mayor and City Council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of this variance does not allow for the alteration of the footprint of the existing building. All alterations to the building must be approved by the city. 2, the applicant must provide a parking plan designating the location of parking for the second business before the issuance of the occupational tax certificate. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on June 1st, 2021, the Commission recommended denial of the variance with a 5-0 vote. That's my presentation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak for this request?
Ladies, I'm the owner of the property. The snow cones were approved. I'm not knowledgeable of the city codes, the requirements. The city code says you cannot have 2 structures, more than 1 structure on 20,000 square feet. Who am I to know that you approve one, the second one, assuming that I'm going to take the first one off? Don't make no sense. I had it in mind, but this is why we have contingencies in place. When you approve some commercial property, you approve it, say, if you take this down, we'll approve this plan, right? Makes sense. I'm assuming that that was the point. Now, I understand everybody makes mistakes. Well, I don't have $700,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars to put a big building there that I'm allowed to put 6,000 square feet building there. I don't have that. What I have, I'm a small family-owned business, and what the plan is to remodel exactly like it is, make it look pretty, put some flowers around. Actually, it can look good. Just like if you look at the snow cone, it looks good. And they're still working on it to make it look better. Or you can leave it like this. I don't mean to be a jerk. I don't mean to change the rules of the city. I completely understand whichever direction you go. But I think this property will be better used if you allow a small restaurant, because that's what they're planning. I have the lady, she wasn't available today. But she's trying to put a small restaurant there. No sitting, no, just come pick up, just like Wings University used to be. And parking, it says that there's not enough parking. Well, parking is all shareable all over the properties, both of them. And also in the back line of the property, there's like 10 or 12 parking lots. So it might be short, but I don't see it being an issue because it hasn't been for years. And just like we all understand who owns business in Statesboro, everybody parks whatever their space. So I understand they require, if I get approved for a parking plan, that's no problem. I can do that. But I promise you, if you do allow to open a business there, it will look way better than it looks now. Because right now, it's sorry. And I apologize, and I'm sorry for having this, but it can look a lot better and actually produce some money for a family.
So your plan, if it is approved,
I don't know who, yes ma'am.
so your plan, if it is approved, you are saying that you are willing to make the building look better, more presentable than what it already looks before a business goes into it?
100%, there's no other way, the way it looks, it's terrible. I'm the owner that bought the other place. I don't know if you've seen it the way it looked before.
Which place, I'm sorry?
The building with the red roof, if you don't mind, if you can go back.
Okay.
That building, it was torn down, it was raining inside, it was just you know,
Okay.
it was terrible. And I make it look as good as I could. So I don't do just open the door. So the person that's going to rent it, we're gonna work it out and we're gonna remodel. And also, there's code, because when you remodel, you have to follow the code. So we're gonna come to the strict code of the city, whatever they require to make it for the family to be able to have a business there.
So I think that, and this is a point of personal privilege, because we are out of order. But it's a good question to ask at a good time. Can you meet the recommendations that staff has outlined for you? Can you meet those recommendations?
The only recommendation that I remember really is the parking plan, which I don't see that being a problem. I can come up with parking plan.
Okay.
Kathy, were there any other recommendations?
It's just that if there are alterations to the existing building, that they must be reviewed and approved by the city.
Oh, can you follow those?
Yes, ma'am. And please put a contingency that if the business before the approval is open, before the approval is given to a new business, put a contingency that the building has to be brought up to the code. This way you have nothing to lose. It's everything is to the code beside the 20,000 square feet part, which I understand, and I'm sorry we're in this situation. If I knew to begin with that you don't allow of this rule, I wouldn't have snow cone place to begin with.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, it's,
No problem.
I,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
All right. Now, is there anyone here to speak against this request? All right, seeing that it is not, is there a motion to close?
Alan Walter with Downtown Development Authority. We appreciate what Jake is trying to do, but as a development authority, we do support the city's position in terms of that Blue Mile and any variances. I know you'll take into account everything, but that's an important stretch. It is being redeveloped, and Kathy and Justin have done a good job in supporting that project, and the development authority would stand with them in their recommendations.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else to speak against? Anyone to speak for? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any discussion by council?
So,
Yes.
with that being stated, if Jake's structure is approved, is that gonna hinder anything with the Blue Mile?
Ellen, will you tell us more about the objection?
Well, we just feel like the improvements that are going on there, that we have zonings and restrictions for a reason, and it's not just picking on any one particular person. There is a policy, a philosophy of what we want, but there also that philosophy is exercised in zones and building requirements and lot placements and parking and traffic patterns, and we like the ones that we have going right now. And now, you know, and you guys know this as good as anybody, once you start monkeying with these zones and variances, you've got to deal with every single person because you're starting to set a precedent. How you can kind of get to something that works for Mr. Jake as well, but from the development authority and the people on our board and stuff, that was why we have zones. That's why we have these requirements, is that it sets a pattern and a zone that's getting that Blue Mile and that corridor where we think it needs to be.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
Jake,
Go ahead. This is my last question. Jake, how much of that property do you own? Is it just the,
From the corner all the way to where the Western Sizzling restaurant used to be.
gotcha,
So if it's not approved, what happens to the old Wing University? Does it stay? Is it getting knocked down? What happens, Kathy?
As Councilwoman, if it's not approved, you can only have one business there, is what that means. And he's asking for a variance to put the second business on there. We're saying it's limited because of the parking. So he would, we would inspect it, and if it did not, if it was needed to be condemned and demolished, we would state, or he would have to rehab it to bring it up to more to code. But the building as it is right now is in really bad shape.
So rehab, but then nothing being done with the building?
That's right. I mean, if you want to save the building, you could. But, you know, it is an old building that needs a lot of work.
Thank you. And Jake, you have somebody who is interested and ready to open a business there?
I have actually 3 people, but I'm going with the lady that has the energy, the money, and the things that she needs to do too. But I do actually have 3 people without advertising. People just came to me and said, please, it's just, I need this.
My thought process is that if we deny it, then the building will stay there and it's not a site for us. But if he's saying that he is going to fix it up, then yet again, we can have another business come to the city.
So I'd like to understand better what the problem is. The codes call for that size lot to have a single building of greater square footage. But that's not what he has. He has 2 smaller buildings that he's asking for a variance, so he can have the 2 separate smaller buildings instead of tearing them both down and building one bigger. Is that basically right, Kathy?
What the code says, Councilwoman, is that every business needs 20,000 square feet minimum for the parking to relate to that. This site is only about 20,000 square feet.
Okay.
And he wants to put a second business on it. And then the red building, which is just to the north, he has 2 businesses in there, and he doesn't have enough parking there to support those 2 businesses according to code. So he uses some of the parking in this site.
Kathy, while you're there,
Yes.
because me and Venus are going back and forth, what district is that actually in? Is that in District 2 or is it in District 3?
District 2.
It's in my district, okay.
You visited me.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Kathy, let me ask this question. With the snow cone business, I believe you said something along the lines that the snow cone business was approved with the understanding that the other business was going to be removed.
Right.
Can you give me a little bit of background on that?
Yeah, that was our understanding, so that we wouldn't be violating the zoning code. And so we allowed that because it was our understanding that the white building, the Wings University, was going to be demolished.
Okay. And how did we come to that conclusion? Do we have that documented? Was there a verbal agreement?
Well, there was lots of conversation with the code compliance group on that, as well as with Justin from my staff.
Okay.
So we were all under the understanding that White Wings University was going to go away. And so therefore, that's why we allowed the snow cone to be put in there.
And who was that conversation with?
With the owner.
With the owner?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Was it documented? Like, is there anywhere specific that you can
No, you know what, we don't have it documented. I did ask that question.
Okay.
But we had enough staff between the code compliance and the planning staff. But that's all I know.
Okay, thank you.
Can I answer the question? So Wings University was renting initially before I had to kick him out because he didn't follow the code. He did some things that you shouldn't do. So he built a patio in the wrong place. But anyway, the rent was $600. It doesn't make sense to kick out a business that pays rent $600 to allow one that pays $5. I know this is nobody's business, but why would I do that to myself, into my family's income? It doesn't make no sense. And this is mathematical answer of the question. Nobody is dumb enough to kick somebody who pays more rent, thinking that, oh, this is gonna be a better future. It's just, and I didn't know, and the way it went, I talked to the snow cone lady, and I said, go ahead to the city, and if you get approved, have at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And she did. So then I found out about the code.
Okay. So you had the conversation with the code prior, or after the approval of the snow cone?
I had yes, with me and Mr. Williams, I had a conversation when I had in mind that, hey, I might take this down. At no point I signed any papers. I see no contingencies. Nobody talked to me, hey, we'll approve the snow cone if you take this down. At no point I had this conversation with nobody from, nobody asked me this.
Okay. So you're saying that the conversation that Kathy just referenced did not happen?
No, I came and find out about the city code regulation about the 20,000 square feet per structure, not per business, per structure. Because I can have 6,300 square feet building there. But I have the snow cone is 450 square feet, including the patio, and this is even smaller. This is like 200 square feet. But, like I said, I don't have $600,000 to put a 6,000 square feet building there.
Okay.
If I would have built something nice, but I don't. I take what I have.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussions by council?
I think I may be thinking similarly with the other council ladies. I like the idea of there being two small walk-up businesses. I know we have codes and that we want things to be a certain way, but you can't always have folks come in willing to do that or having the money to do it. And I think it sounds like, I visited the place today, and I like the little Snow La La place. It's a very nice woman who's running that. I think it'd be an excellent addition to our Blue Mile and our streetscape to have two businesses that people want to walk up to and get something to eat. And the fact that Mr. Dragon owns the whole triangle, and I know Kathy, you said it's insufficient to code, and I understand that it is, but the business on the corner point is his own business, it's just him, and then a one operator salon. So they don't need those 15 parking places. It makes sense to me that it's all being shared. So I'm inclined to support it as long as he comes back and makes it look good according to what the city thinks, as far as upgrading the building when you're ready. It's my inclination. Am I missing something?
No.
We're with you.
And Phil is still, I'm sorry, I wanted to acknowledge that we have at least one other council member. Do you have anything to say, Phil?
Both of them are there.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Barr. I just like to say I'm supporting the rest of the council's opinions there. I'm pro-business, and I've seen a lot of cities and a lot of infrastructure and a lot of ways to do things. And if you've got active business owners who want to try to make whatever facility that can work within the safety guidelines of our city and within, standard health guidelines, I say anything that brings more people, more business, more activity to the Blue Mile and downtown, I'm all for it.
Thank you. I'm sorry, John is with us also, Mr. Riggs. Thank you, Mr. Riggs.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wondered if you had any comment. We don't want to overlook the folks on Zoom.
I certainly want something to be there, something that, pleasant and generates some, activity and certainly money for someone. I'd like to, support this, and I think I probably will, but, I'm still listening to you guys, so keep coming with the questions.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion by council? All right. Is there a motion to?
I'm sorry, Kathy wanted to say something.
May I say something? If you are looking favorably toward this application, I would ask for a reasonable timeline from the owner to effectuate the changes on that site.
Okay. And what would that timeline be?
90 days?
90 days.
That's reasonable, but I want to make sure something happens there in a reasonable time. That would be my thought.
All right, thank you.
If I may, maybe extending that to 120 or 180 might be more reasonable, if only because it is very challenging to get supplies and people to do things in construction, electricity, HVAC, that kind of thing. So 90 days is pretty tight for almost any project, especially if you're starting one right now. Just a consideration.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Boyle. Do we have a motion from council to approve with staff recommendations with the addition of a 120-day time period to meet recommendations?
So moved.
Is it
Are we
120
going
days?
120 or 180?
120.
Oh, no, I thought he said 180.
He said
6 months.
Yeah, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 10, which is the public hearing consideration of a motion to approve application RZ 21-05-04. Terramore Development LLC requests a zoning map amendment from the R20 zoning district to the CR zoning district in order to develop a Dollar General at 959 North Main Street. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carry.
Thank you, sir. Terramore Development requests a zoning map amendment on a 3.24 acre lot in order to develop an approximately 10,600 square foot Dollar General store. The location is near the edge of the city limits and is located adjacent to the Statesboro-Bullock County landfill. Currently, the site contains a dilapidated vacant home. Although the surrounding area is primarily zoned residential, the Statesboro Comprehensive Plan does allow for neighborhood-scale commercial development in the established residential neighborhood character area. So you can see the site. Directly to the north is the access road into the landfill. The property, well, let's see, let's move on. The property is in the established residential neighborhood, as I mentioned. You can see that the light green to the right and then to the north is essentially county land. So we're at the very uttermost top of the Statesboro area. The zoning map shows this site to be zoned R20. The top left shows the subject house with the vacant property on it. The bottom shows the entrance to the landfill, which is directly to the north. The top left shows property to the south, and the bottom right shows property to the east, which is in the county. This shows the site plan, and you can see the 10,600 square foot building in white, surrounded by the gray parking area, and then surrounded by a lot of green landscaping. And this is a photo showing facsimile of the building. Staff recommends approval of RZ 21-0504. If this petition is approved by the mayor and city council, it should be subject to the applicant's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of the zoning map amendment does not grant the right to develop on the site without approval. All construction must be approved by the city. 2, to maintain conformance with the homes in the adjacent neighborhood, all portions of the building visible from North Main Street, which are 3 facades, must be clad in a combination of brick and hardy plank. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission on June 1st, 2021, the Commission recommended approval with staff conditions on a 5-0 vote. That's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak for the request?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, my name is Steve Rushing. I'm an attorney here in Statesboro. I'm representing the parties involved in this, starting with our owner of the property, Ms. Juliet Hart. She's here. She actually postponed a trip to see one of her children down in Key West to be here tonight. So thank you, Ms. Hart, for that.
If you need a miscellaneous mayor to go with you, I'll just need one, I'll go, okay?
She has contracted for the sale of this property to Terramore Development Group. They are also represented here today. We have Mr. Josh Rasmussen and Mr. Chris Qualheim, excuse me. They've also brought their engineer, Pete, to answer any questions that you might have. As it was stated, this is the last parcel going out of the city on North Main Street on the left-hand side of the road. The owners on two sides of this property were here earlier, but they left. That was the Board of Commissioners. They own two sides with the landfill property and with the landfill entrance road there. Perhaps that might be one of the reasons why this property has been vacant for over 30 years as a residential property and has become just totally dilapidated, and there's been no kind of construction there for a long time. But it makes for a perfect site for our project. It is over 3 acres in size. You rarely see a residential site that size. Has frontage on North Main Street of 548 feet. It's also along Landfill Road, 136.42 feet. You've seen this rendering. This was actually as a result of our Planning Commission meeting. There was some discussion initially about maybe taking brick up all the way. And then we had some conferences and some compromises, and we think this beautiful building is what resulted in the compromise at the Planning Commission phase with the brick and hardy plank combination. I'm going to ask Chris, our operations manager, if he will come up now and kind of explain about the project, and then I'm going to come back and end up with the legal part of it.
Okay.
All right, Chris?
Thank y'all for having us. Mr. Rushing mentioned I'm Chris Qualheim with Terramore Development. We're a preferred developer for Dollar General in most of South Georgia, Bullitt County in particular. As mentioned, we're asking to rezone the property for a Dollar General development. As mentioned in code and the future land use vision, this is a neighborhood style commercial building. We don't anticipate folks from outside of the neighborhood, people that normally pass by the site daily, come to town to travel out of their way to come. So we do feel that this is going to be centralized to this neighborhood and folks that come by anyways. For the facade on the building, as discussed and during the planning board, we've agreed to 3 sides facing Main Street with brick up to 4 feet, and then the remainder up to the top would be hardy board, which is a cement composite. It's a masonry product that looks like siding, lasts longer than wood siding, kind of gives it more of the country store feel within these neighborhoods. So you're not just throwing a brick building in the middle of the neighborhood necessarily. Outside of that, we anticipate increasing tax ad valorem tax on the property, both in the city and the county, as well as generating over $80,000 of sales tax annually. So we feel like it's an economic positive for the city, and asking nothing in return from you other than approval of the rezoning. And I'll be happy to answer any specific questions y'all have.
Okay, we're gonna keep it in order this time. So if the council needs a question from you, we'll do it during discussion.
Sure.
All right,
All right, thank you.
You would be done with me shortly. I do want to just address of course, the future land use plan that has been mentioned by staff. It is stated to be established residential, but despite the title, it does anticipate neighborhood commercial. In fact, I want to mention, go to that section of the future land use plan. Regarding the established residential, there's a couple of highlighted places that I have here. Corridors in this area may support a mix of residential and commercial uses. Some neighborhoods within this area are facing some decline issues with blight. Here, if you've seen a picture of this building, this is certainly what I think meeting that kind of condition. It's dilapidated. Strengthening the urban core through additional commercial, retail, and office development can benefit the neighborhoods surrounding the urban core by providing residential opportunities within walking or cycling distance to downtown. Land uses, the first one underneath, neighborhood scale retail and commercial, so it's certainly anticipated. And then under the implementation strategies that are in the land use plan, residential developments that incorporate corner commercial sites such as dry cleaning or convenience, grocery, or similar retail services. So we think that we fall right within the future land use plan with our proposal here with this project. Also, of course, there's the standards that you must consider when making your decision. The staff, I think you'll see in your report that you've received, covered that very well. And we ditto that. I did want to highlight a couple of those that were expressed. Under standard number 4, does the existing zoning promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the public? We state no, because under the current zoning, the subject property has remained vacant and in a dilapidated condition for over 30 years. What hardship does the existing zoning put on the property owner? The owner feels saddled with this property that is undevelopable under current residential zoning. Obviously, folks don't want to build their home next to the landfill or the entrance to the landfill. And so that's why we're looking for a different alternative. And this, we think, makes an ideal one. Will the proposed zoning adversely affect the use of adjacent or nearby properties? Once again, we say no. The property is currently vacant with no drainage or soil erosion facilities in place. For the proposed development, a drainage retention pond will be constructed to capture and treat any stormwater that flows through the site. A grading plan, you've seen the landscape plan. All of these are upgrades from our normal Dollar General plan, and that's because it's right at the end of a neighborhood. One thing that I don't think was mentioned previously is that the two sides do abut a residential neighborhood. And with that, in addition to our landscape plan, we also have a buffer fence of some 6 foot, I think is correct? Correct. 6 foot in height that will buffer any residential. Even though you can't really see them from the site because of the natural buffer, we will add that as well. So there should be very little impact on the adjacent residences. Is it a photochromic plan that we're talking about?
Photometric.
Yeah, that one. That's all the lights that we'll have in the parking are face down lights so that it doesn't protrude into the neighborhood. But we ask that you apply these standards and to adopt the Planning Commission's 5-0 recommendation and to grant this zoning. We're certainly fine with both of the conditions that the staff has recommended. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak against the request? Not seeing that there's none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion by council?
I have a question for the developers, please. I've heard you make reference to this being the new and improved Dollar General.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this one of the ones that has more of a grocery section in it?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell
So
me about that.
it will have more produce, more freezer section, more grocery offerings, less of the kind of trinket, more dollars type stuff. So it is designed, they're going more towards a healthier, fresher eating goal here. So it's
A neighborhood market kind of place.
correct. Yes, ma'am. And so it will have some produce, like the expanded freezer sections, all that. So they're trying to get away from more of the processed foods and into the healthier eating.
It's wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion by council?
Mr. Rushing, you indicated this lot has been vacant for over 30 years?
Yes, there's an old residence on it. I used to live out Lakeview Road back in the early 90s, and it looked the same way then. And that was
Okay, gotcha.
30 years.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion by council? All right. Councilman Boyd, this is your district. Is there anything you would like to say?
Steve is right. That particular property and the location it's at with the access to the landfill and just where it's situated and everything else, it is very unlikely that it would ever become a residential area. I'd much rather see a nice new Dollar General than the creepy old haunted house that's there now.
Thank you.
So yeah, with that said, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll move down to agenda item 11, a public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-24, a resolution exempting certain vehicles from marking requirements for 1 year. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Penny, if you'll give us some insight on this, please.
Mayor, members of the council, annually, we bring this item before you. State law requires certain markings on vehicles driven by local government officials. However, in this case, you have, we're recommending that you exempt certain vehicles because in most cases, they're privately owned vehicles that use their private vehicle for public purposes. And so that's the purpose of this exemption. And you can't do it for multiple years. You have to do it every year. And so we recommend that you approve that exemption.
All right, thank you, Mr. Penny. All right, is there anyone to speak for this request? Anyone to speak against? Is there a motion to close hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll now open it up for council discussion. Is there any discussion by council? Seeing that there's no discussion by council, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let us show that agenda item 7 is passed. We'll move down to agenda item 12, which is consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-25, a resolution to adopt the third amendment to the fiscal year 2021 budget for each fund of the city of Statesboro, Georgia, appropriating the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, expenses, adopting the several items of revenue anticipations, and prohibiting expenditures or expenses from exceeding the actual funding available for appropriations. Mr. Penny.
Mayor and members of the council, every year you adopt an annual budget, and the budget has to be a balanced budget. But during the course of a year, if we're fortunate enough, we may have some increased revenues. And in this case, if you look at attachment 1, there were a number of increased revenues. We received CARES Act funds to a tune of about $1.7 million. We received some FEMA reimbursement funds, about $74 million. And so what we're asking you to do is to amend our budget to recognize these revenues that have come in and some additional expenses. But in many cases, for example, with the CARES Act fund and the general fund, we brought in, that brought in $1,053,760. So we end up with about $967,155 in the fund balance. And then in the fire fund, there was some CARES Act funds that came in there as well, like $671,805. And then at the end there, we end up with an increase in our fund balance of $474,000. So this is really some housekeeping so that we remain legal with our budget process. So we do recommend this third budget amendment for your approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Penny. Is there any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we move down to agenda item 13, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-26, a resolution adopting the Statesboro schedule of rates, fees, and fines. Mr. Penny.
Mayor and members of the council, annually you adopt the schedule of rates, fees, and fines. And when you adopted the budget, we also told you that we were not recommending any we weren't recommending tax increase. We also weren't recommending any rate increases. However, there are some new fees in this, such as we have transit fees that we need to include for next year. Hopefully, we'll be implementing the transit system. Then at the last meeting, you approved some non-consensual tolling fees, so we had to include those. We also have some municipal court fees that we have to include in the document. And so those are some of the additional fees that are included, but we do recommend approval of the schedule of rates and fees for 2022 too.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's show that agenda item 13 is passed. We'll move down to agenda item 14, Consideration of a motion to award a contract for auditing services to Lanier Deal and Proctor in the amount of $47,000 and $5,000 for a single audit for FY year 2021 with an option to extend the contract for fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023 at the same prices. If approved, each yearly contract will be signed prior to beginning auditing services. Auditing services are funded under the Finance Department in the General Fund. Mr. Penny, if you would give us some insight, please.
Mayor and council, annually, we have to have an audit performed of our revenues and expenses. And so first, for local governments to get an audit, there are not a lot of firms out there that do this. And so Lanier Deal and Proctor has been doing our audit for a number of years. And so they submit the proposal at our request. And so we do recommend that you would approve this agreement in order for them to do our audit, because we're coming up on the close of another year. And so we'll need to prepare for audit at the fee of $47,000 for the annual audit, and if needed, the $5,000 for the single audit. And then again, as you stated, with the opportunity to extend for 2 additional years. And so we would recommend that the city council approve this agreement with Lanier Deal and Proctor.
Okay, thank you. All right, any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve agenda item 14?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, then we move down to agenda item 15, consideration of motion to authorize the mayor to execute a contract of services with the Statesboro Arts Council Incorporated to market downtown Statesboro by operating and managing the Avery Center for the Arts using proceeds from the hotel motel tax. Mr. Penny.
So 15, 16, and 17 are actually all together.
Okay.
So we have to do this annually. We receive the hotel motel tax. And so what happens is annually we come to you to approve the distribution of those funds. And so what we're bringing to you is for you to approve those contracts with the Avery Center for the Arts, the Downtown Statesboro Development Authority, and then the Statesboro Convention and Visitors Bureau. The Convention and Visitors Bureau receives 50% of the funds. Downtown Development Authority will receive 19.9% of the funds, and the Avery Center for the Arts will receive 25.1% of the funds. And I'll simply say we receive about 5% of the funds, which really for administrative purposes. We'll also say that of all the funds that we have that we receive this fiscal year, last year we received almost $900,000, but because of the pandemic, this year we will only receive about $600,000. So we're hoping to see an increase in the revenues for next year for the hotel motel tax as things will begin to open up again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Penny. If it pleases the council, we would like to combine 15, 16, and 17 in an approval motion. Is there a motion for approval of 16, 17, 15, 16, and 17?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 18.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, we didn't have any discussion, but I'd just like to take this opportunity to say this is some of the best money we funnel in our whole budget, because we have an excellent Downtown Development Authority, an excellent Avery Arts Center, excellent Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm so glad that money comes in when people come to stay here, and then we get funded right back and all the good they do with it. So thank you, guys. Good job.
Great job. All right, you okay, Alan? Good deal. That's always good to hear. We'll move down to agenda item 18, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-27, a resolution to accept the CJCC grant for the city of Statesboro. Mr. Penny.
Mayor, members of the council, we were very fortunate to receive a criminal justice coordinator from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, a grant in the amount of $160,000. Basically, that money will be used to do some training for, to build a use of force and de-escalation laboratory at our joint range facility. And so, this will accept, what you're gonna do is accept the grant so that, we can begin the process of being able to utilize the funds. It is a reimbursement, on a reimbursement basis, so we have to expend our funds and then we're able to get them back. But in this case, we recommend that you accept the funds, $160,000, which I know you don't like the term money back.
That's right. All right, with that being said, is there any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let's show that agenda item 18 is passed. We move down to agenda item 19, consideration of a motion to enter into a service agreement with Optimum Sports Medicine for athletic trainer services.
Mayor and council, with our fire department, police department, they do physical fitness and other employees do it as well. And so what we're recommending to you is a contract with Optum to work with us and to assign a certified athletic trainer to work with our staff. And part of this has been that we work in conjunction with Georgia Southern University, and we've had graduate students working in our gym with our employees. And so we were, and some of this is selfish, but it's a good thing.
Yeah.
We had a graduate student that has been working with us for a couple of years. She's graduated, and we want to find a way to be able to keep her, but I couldn't recommend a full-time position for it. So we found another way to work it. And so Optum is going to hire that employee and assign that employee to us. But in addition, they will also bring some other students to the table that will work with our employees and ensure that whenever they have injuries, they help get people back to work. And if they're having muscular issues, they're able to work with our employees. And so in this case, this contract is for $47,000. This year, we'll pay it out of the fire fund, but we're also looking at the possibility of future years using some of our insurance proceeds in order to be able to cover it. And so we do recommend that you would approve this agreement with Optum Care for athletic training.
Okay. All right, any discussion by council?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I would like to say that I went in there with my muscular self. And she worked on me a little while, and that's, I need to get in the gym. But yeah, nice people, they're good at what they do, so. With that being said, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, good deal. We're down to agenda item 20, consideration of a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a contract with the Waste Management of Georgia Incorporated for a solid waste and wastewater sludge landfill disposal airwax contract. Mr. Penny.
Mayor, members of the council, if you remember during our budget process, we were telling you that we needed to bid out our landfill disposal. And so we went through an RFP process, and so tonight what we're recommending is that that you authorize the mayor to execute a contract with Waste Management of Georgia to take our garbage, our solid waste, down to Chatham County versus Wayne County.
Okay.
So, and part of the conversation I remember with the mayor and council was we were concerned about the distance and the environmental impact. And so we're going to be able to shorten that trip from 80 miles to 50 miles, so it'll get a little bit closer to us. But it will be for a solid waste disposal and for sludge disposal. And so we would recommend that this contract to you for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council?
So I was glad to see, as Mr. Penny said, that this means we've got less diesel fuel and less fumes and less environmental impact to carry it a shorter distance. Also, the new vendor that city is asking us to contract with has some procedures in place where they're reusing methane gas in some of their places. So that sounds good to me too. I did hear from the other vendor we've dealt with for years, asking that we stay with them, but I'm inclined to accept the city's proposal and go with what they're saying, greener, closer.
Any further discussion by council? Seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 21. Consideration of motion to authorize the mayor to execute a contract with Atlantic Waste Services Incorporated for a solid waste and wastewater sludge transportation contract.
So Mayor and Council, you approved where we disposed of it, but now we have to approve transporting. And so we're recommending, again, that we contract with Atlantic Waste Services Incorporated for the transportation of the solid waste and the sludge. And we do recommend that contract to you as well.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Is there any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's show that agenda item 21 is passed. We'll move down to agenda item 22. Consideration of a motion to award a contract to National Auto Fleet Group in the amount of $55,318 for the purchase of one 30-foot Mack dump trailer to be purchased with 2013 SPLOST funds. Mr. Penny.
Again, Mayor, this is for disposal of sludge from the wastewater treatment plant, and so we would recommend approval of that purchase. It is in our capital improvement plan.
All right, thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we move down to agenda item 23. Consideration of a motion to award a contract to McGlennon Enterprise Incorporated in the amount of $3,956,569.90 for the Blue Mile Streetscape Improvements Project. This project is paid for by the Georgia Department of Transportation, Elmere Grant Funds, 2018 T-SPLOST Funds, 2013 SPLOST, and water, sewer, gas, and enterprise funds. Mr. Penny.
Mayor and members of the council, again, this is the Blue Mile project. It came in more than what we expected, about $500,000 more than what we expected. And I'm using this time to just say this. We've been in a pandemic, but the construction work has not stopped. And so we're seeing price escalation. However, we believe that with projects that we have going forward, we can manage, and we were able to make up that $500,000 in order to be able to cover the cost. But the question that I ask of our staff is, as with the park projects, you know, we have change orders, but our expectation is we're gonna be able to do this for this $4 million that you're gonna approve. But we also will be mindful of our projects going forward to make sure that we can cover this cost and any changes that might occur over the next 16 to 18 months, and that's gonna be the length of the project. But we do recommend that you award it to McGlennon Enterprises in the amount of the $3.9 million. And just an example for everyone, the second low bid was almost $4.3 million.
Okay.
So we recommend McGlennon Enterprises.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council?
So I heard you say 16 to 18 months is the projected timeline, but they're getting started as soon as we can approve
Well,
it?
they have to be started, I believe, by July 1st, so, yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion by council? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And this is a big deal, Stacy.
Yes, sir.
This is a big deal. I'll move down to agenda item 24, consideration of a motion to purchase wetland mitigation credits for $66,600 as required by special conditions with the Corps of Engineers permit issued for the project. The purchase is to be paid from 2019 CDBG grant and 2013 SPLOST funds. Is there Mr. Penny, if you give us some insight.
Yeah, Mayor and council, I think at one of our, if it wasn't the last meeting, it was the last meeting in May, you approved the project over on MLK, the CDBG project, it was about $800,000. Well, in order for us to be able to get ready, to get started, we had to do this wetlands mitigation and purchase this option. And so that's why it's before you, because until we get this done, we can't start that project. And so we recommend that you would approve us to be able to do the wetlands mitigation that's required in this project for $66,000.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we move down to agenda item 25, in consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-23, a resolution initiating voter referendum on authorized issuance of licenses for the package sale of distilled spirits. Mr. Penny.
I'm going to defer to our city attorney.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Mayor, council, this is a resolution that would initiate the referendum election for, and it would have that simple ballot question of, shall the issuance of licenses for the package sale of distilled spirits be approved? This is coming off a motion initially made by council members Boyd and Mack to take advantage of a recent amendment to OCGA 3442. Previously, these referendums could only be initiated on petition of citizenry, but with the passage of Senate Bill 145 back in May, on May 4th of this year, that power now also is vested in the governing authority of any municipality or county. So it would require this referendum resolution to be voted on, and then it would require the voters to actually approve by simple majority if those package sales of distilled spirits would be allowed in the city of Statesboro.
All right, thank you, Ken. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that-
I'm sorry, is this public hearing or could I allow public comment?
There is no public hearing, but I'm going to open it up to council first. If council doesn't have any commentary, then anyone that did not speak at the work session and wanted to say something in this space, we'll open it up for them and then take a vote.
Okay, I may have a comment, but I want to hear comments here first.
Okay, any discussion by council?
I have a comment, please.
Okay, all right, and that's Councilman Riggs.
My comment, this is, I just feel it is absolutely just too rushed. It's too fast, and I will not approve putting it on the agenda for putting on the election in November.
Okay. Any further discussion, Councilman Riggs?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Riggs. Any further discussion by council?
I myself am prepared, as it was 2 weeks ago, to float a motion to put this on the November 2nd ballot. I think this would have been on the ballot a long time ago, had there not been the restrictions of getting all the signatures. Now that that's lifted, clearly there's a lot of interest, and so again, I'm putting the motion. I will be voting for it and putting the motion forward. So I'm ready to move forward. Eager to hear from the rest of the councilmen.
Okay. Any further discussion by council? Okay. All right. Do we have any comment from public? All right. Seeing that there's no comment from the public, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mayor.
We don't have a date on here. We need a date.
I'm sorry. I'll make a motion to call for a voter referendum this upcoming November, with according to resolution 2021-23.
Okay. Is there a
Good
second?
enough?
Yes. Is there a second? Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a comment before we vote, please.
okay.
I agree, I think with all the council members that I want the local citizens to vote whether or not they want alcohol in Statesboro, but I'm with John that seems very fast to me, and I'm hearing from constituents who would prefer that the council kind of hammer out some of the details of what it's going to be before we put it on the ballot so they know what they're voting for. So that's my concern. I want some citizens of Bullock County to say whether or not they want alcohol sold, but I'm concerned about doing it as quickly as we're talking about.
All right. Any further discussion from council after the second? All right. Is there a motion to approve the motion? Is there a vote to approve the motion on the floor?
So moved. Okay.
Well, all those in favor of the motion on the floor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So all those opposed?
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
Nay.
All right, let us show that agenda item five has passed with a 3-2 vote. Before we close that, I will make a statement that like I said last week, I would prefer to been able to get some public input in regards to this. But what my commitment would be to the people, to the citizens of Statesboro, is that as this ordinance is crafted, we will put together an ad hoc committee that will consist of members of the advocacy team. It will consist of law enforcement, representatives from Georgia Southern, and all stakeholders across the board. So we will definitely make sure that we do get that public input as far as the creation and crafting of the policy. But with that being said, everything will be decided on November the 2nd, okay? All right, and so we'll move down to agenda item 26, which is other business from city council. Is there any other business?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to take this opportunity to let folks know that there will be vaccine clinics available when you go to buy your groceries on Saturday. The city is co-sponsoring along with Squash the Spread Bullock to make these pop-up vaccine clinics available. You can get the one and done Johnson's, or you can get the Moderna that you come back in 4 weeks. So the vaccines will be available again this Saturday from 9 to 11 at Food Lion, Food World, and both Walmarts. And then again 4 weeks later in July. So tell folks who can get to the grocery store if they haven't had a vaccine yet, it's an easy way to get it while you're there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further other business from city council? All right, seeing that there's none, we'll move down to city manager comments.
Mayor, members of council, I want to just use this time to share 3 things with you. First, based on our discussions and email to you, we're not planning a work session for the month of July. I know y'all be disappointed, but.
You know, I'm on work session.
I know you. And then, we want to thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of our staff. This will be our first Juneteenth holiday this Friday.
Okay.
And y'all voted that in last year, so I wanted to call your attention to that. So this Friday will be off. And then I also wanted to just call your attention to the parks. We're making good progress with the parks. However, because of all the rain we've had, our hope was that we would be able to open those parks the 1st of July. And so the rains have put us behind. So right now, we're hoping by middle of July that we'd be able to have a ribbon cutting at least at Louetta Moore. But even at that, some things, the pool, the splash pads, all that stuff would be done. But because of the supply chain, we are having some difficulty getting some material. So like the picnic shelters might not all be in place. But the other thing is, if it's mid-July, we would not want to hold up the swimming pool. Because it'll only be about 2 or 3 more weeks before kids are back in school. So then they would be limited to weekend or evening time swimming. And so, but we'd also like to have a ribbon cutting before people start taking advantage of it. So we're pointing for mid-July on that.
And other than that, the contractor's been great to work with, and we've been working with, Bullock County Park and Recreation Department to make sure that we have a smooth transition from construction to actual operations. And they've been training staff, getting them ready for when we're ready to open that pool. Okay. All right, and Statesboro, if you have not had a chance to ride by and see those parks, that contractor is doing a heck of a job. And I think it's gonna be very important to our community overall, but they're doing some amazing work. Beyond that, we're down to agenda item 28. Are there any public comments? All right, so we'll move down to agenda item 29. Do we need executive session? No? Y'all like spending time with us? Okay. All right, we'll move down to agenda item 30, which is the consideration for a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.